Good day, sir. Good day, everyone. I am China Charlie Queen B Stream 2. So today I'm going to discuss about the traits and attitudes of the Filipino. So first is the positive traits. So first is hospitality. Hospitality. So hospitality is a trait displayed by every Filipino characterized by heartwarming, generosity, and friendliness exhibit to foreigners and locals alike. So, as a Filipino, we have our traits that we call hospitality. And wherever we go or in our country, being a Filipino is known as hospitable. So this is one of the most popular qualities of Filipinos of being a hospitable. So most foreigners who have gone to the Philippines feel in love with the warm hospitality they have experienced while staying in our country. So being a hospitable is also one of the why foreigners are love of staying in our country because most of Filipinos are hospitable. So this is a kind of value system which has exists in the country thousands of years ago. So good thing is that the hospitality of Filipino is not only shown to the foreigners but to our fellow Filipino as well. So hospitality of Filipinos is shown in the following sample situation. So example, when a person visits a friend's house, the host greets him or her with a very warm welcome. So, as we observe, if we are going to visit our friend's home or someone's someone's that we all know were very warm welcome in their home. So the host will immediately let their visitor sit down and will prepare a meal or a snack plus drinks for the visitor. So the host will insist that the friend not leave the house with an empty stomach. So a host will always make sure you had a great time visiting them. Then next is example is Filipino also offer their guest room to visitor if they are going to spend the night. So as a Filipino, if there is someone or our relatives who want to spend the night in our home, we are offered our guest room. Then next is meals offered to guests are very special. And a host always find a way to prepare great tasting food that her visitor wants to eat. Then next is respect. So this is often observed not just by younger people but also by people of all ages. So in the Philippines, respect for one's elder is a tradition. So being a Filipino, well, we have also a positive traits and that is respect. So po and opo as these words are spoken by the Filipinos when talking to elders or in order to show respect to person in authority. So most of Filipino people or most of the younger ones are always use apo and opo in order to respect the older one. Then these Filipino words mean yes means when answering or talking to the elders. The next is pagmamano, another way of showing respect to the elders when greeting them. This is done by putting the elder's hand on their forehead. So this is also one of the tradition that Filipino have deep when you can show your respect if by greeting the elder and putting their elder hands on their foreheads. Then next is Filipinos also show respect at work by making bowed to their employers. So those are the respect, or those are the examples of respect on how to show, or and those are the examples of respect. Di po and opo, pagmamano and by making a bow to their employees. The next is strong family ties and religion. So being a Filipino, there are Filipino values their families so much that they tend to keep families intact through, through the generation. Families go to church and pray together because their religion is important and creates a strong bond, marking God as the center of their lives. So, be, being a Filipino, one of the marking that the center of their lives is or the is the God. Then Filipinos believe in only one God and majority of the population are Catholics. So it is a value system of the Filipinos to pray before eating, going to bed, before the start of the meeting, conference, or program, and gathering. So on weekends, most Filipino families make sure to have quality time together by watching television or eating a family meal, watch movies, or going to beach resort. So, by make your family strong and make your family get together, Filipinos are always put God as a center of their lives. The next is generosity and helpfulness. Being a Filipino, we are generous and helpfulness. So aside from being hospitable, Filipinos are also well known for being generous. So they share what they have to the people around them even when they only have little. So they could be felt during birthdays, weddings, on or fiesta. So when visitors came to celebrate, great tasting special foods are especially prepared for everyone. It is shared by friends, family, or even strangers. So when you will be in trouble, Filipinos cannot refuse to help you. They are always willing to assist you or lend a hand. So that's also one of the positive traits that Filipino have. The next is strong works ethics. The another good thing most Filipino have is being hardworking people. So they are always willing to work almost the whole day to provide the needs of their families. Filipino farmers, through earning so little, but they work harder with not much compensation. Aside from their regular work, Filipinos always find creative ways to look for other sources of income, like creating a small business from their home where they sell foods and other items for the convenience of their neighbors. So, the strong work ethics is that explain that as a Filipino, we are hardworking people and we are willing to work almost the whole day in order to provide the needs of our family. So in order also to have a in order also to have a extra income, we are build sometimes a small business in order also to make money for the needs of our family. The next is loving and caring. So as a Filipino, we are we have a positive traits and that is being a loving and caring person. So because of their generosity, hospitality, and religiosity, Filipinos are found to be sweetest and most loving people in the world. So that it is expressed by both foreigners and Filipino women that most Filipino men are so sweet and romantic when it comes to love. They will send their beloved flowers, bring her to a very romantic place, text her sweet quotes, and tell often how special she is to them. So, Filipino women are also romantic and very caring, which often makes some foreigners want to marry them. Women tend to prepare dinner before their husband comes home. They love and value the relationship, always staying faithful to their husband. They love deeply and sincerely. So, those are the positive traits of the Filipino. Being hospitality, being a respect, strong family ties, and religious. Then next is generosity and helpfulness. Then strong work ethics and loving and caring. Then let's proceed to the negative traits of Filipino. If we have positive traits of being a Filipino, we have also a negative traits of being a Filipino. So next is fatalism, or bahala na, or come what may attitude. When Filipinos are facing difficulties and shortcomings, they have this attitude of leaving it up to God to sort things out, an attitude of what goes around comes around. Filipinos have a tendency to surrender the future to luck. They have that strong confidence that everything will work out in his interest without doing anything. So, Filipinos often accepts that bad news or circumstances without trying to stop or change them. This can sometimes be helpful and adversity, but it can also keep us from finding ways out of situation. Also, constantly expecting the worst can get pretty depressing. So, being a Filipino, we are always say that bahala na if we have something to do, or if we are not confidently do the thing, we're always say that bahala na. For example, when we're going to do our activities or our project, if sometimes as being a Filipino, we have this kind of attitude. We're always say that bahala na because we are too late to work that project. The next is mañana habit or procrastination. So true-blooded Filipino have the attitude of causing delays in accomplishing things or making transaction. When not interested or not in the mood, they wait or reserve until tomorrow or the next day to finish what they are doing or meeting their transaction. However, there are some Filipinos nowadays who take their time in doing things or in making decisions promptly. So, as a Filipino, the bahala na attitude is the outcome of the mañana habit. When the tasks are left undone, this is usually shown and even expressed by people who do not care much of what lies ahead and just leave everything in fate. So, fatalism and mañana habit are related. Related in the negative traits of Filipinos. Because mañana habit also is making us that if we cannot do the task today, we're depending that in the other day. The next is crab mentality. The crab mentality, this is an attitude of some Filipinos where they tend to push each other down to clear the way for their own gain. So Filipino people, when this kind of mentality or attitude, try their best to ruin each other, either by making issues against the other for him to turn out bad to the public or to the company or organization, so that people will gradually put distance and lost their confidence and trust that eventually result to their replacement. So as a Filipino, we have also a crab mentality or insecurities the other. So be, if you because of having a crab mentality, sometimes Filipino are rowing each other and by using the issues. So by using the issues to one another. And to if you want to if you want to be a superior to her or to him, you are going to making an issue against her or him in order for you to be a superior or order for you to accomplish your dream, but you ruin the you ruin your you can ruin the reputation of someone. The next is hypocrisy rather. This is a trait of the Filipino where criticism to others, failure to live with the moral standards of the society are inevitable. In the Philippines, morality is highly valued. Most of us try to live up the standards set by the traditional society. However, as no one is perfect, many of us are not actually able to sustain this standard. So the fear of being an outcast has forced a lot of people to live a double standard life. So this kind of attitude of being a hypocrisy, sometimes we cannot know that we can hurt someone by we can hurt someone because we valued our moral or our morality. So to hide our failure in following a norm, we tend to be condemning those who are caught red-handed. Then a perfect example could be the criticism faced by those who become pregnant outside marriage. The sad fact behind this scenario is that some of these critics could have actually engaged in premarital sex only that no proof is visible. So those are one of the negative traits that Filipino has. The next is ningas kugun. Most Filipinos are very good at the start when doing something. Nevertheless, after a few hours or days, that excitement to do or accomplish something it's lost we and become too lazy to finish what we have started. So, ningas kuguns means that as a Filipino, for example, if we are employee in that company, in our first day, we're doing good, we're doing our job well, but as past goes by, we are have that attitude that become a lazy or we do our job, but sometimes it's already late. The next is tardiness or Filipino time. Only in the Philippines that we have the so-called Filipino time, but not exactly referring to the Philippines. So standard time, but then again, we use it to refer to the tardiness of the person that we are waiting or who keeps on coming late to the set time schedule of events. So, as a Filipino, we have this kind of attitude also. If we say that we're going to meet at 7 a.m., as a Filipino, we attend the meeting on the 8 a.m. But the set schedule is 7 a.m. That was also the negative traits that Filipino has. The next is gossiping. Filipino are fond of talking about others' business. It is not true that only women are not into gossiping. Even men can also be nasty on others people's lives. Secrets are brought out, failures and flaws are emphasized, and relationship are destroyed. Worst are gossips are passed around. They tend to be twisted until the final story becomes too far from the original, thus causing more damage. So, as a Filipino, we are also fond of talking to someone if she or he has a issue. The next is blaming. Filipinos can sometimes be too self-righteous. When mistakes happen, we do not want to take the blame. We'll accumulate it to accept our failures and instead we point at others. So being a Filipino, sometimes if we do mistakes, we are blaming someone. But the fact that we cannot accept that we are the one who are doing that mistakes. So 9 is selfishness, being insensitive of others. So most of Filipinos are insensitive. So the needs and situation of others. This could be an outcome of having too many problems that Filipino are facing, and tendency is to focus on their own needs first before others. So as a Filipino, we're also sometimes we are also selfish because we are always focused on our needs before before others. The next is disobedience to simple rules and instruction. So as a Filipino, some of Filipinos, despite of the understanding of the purpose of laws and ordinance, have inability to observe and follow them. Consequently, crime, victimization, and accident rate in the Philippines are constantly rising. Poverty is getting more rampant and lifestyle development is relaxed. So, being a Filipino, if there are rules that the government are imposed, we are disobey the rules, and they can might be caused a crime, victimization, and accident because we are disobey the simple rule and instruction that they imposed. So next is attention taker. So Filipinos are fun and people-loving race, or those attracting attention is natural for them. Nevertheless, it is a different thing to be an apple or kapalmoks, simply being an attention grabber. So, as a Filipino, we are attention seeker. So sometimes it our desperate needs to be the center of attention. We do things that are already embarrassing, like putting in conversation as no at all or by being scandalous. So this habit is also common to our politician. Instead of prioritizing their duty to give the best service to the people, they rather prioritize their take faces to grab attention that will bring them more chances of winning in the next election. But thanks to our vigilant netizens, this kind of politician earns more shame than fame. So as a Filipino, we have that kind of negative trait also, the attention taker or attention seeker. The next is being onion skin or too sensitive. So another habit or attitude that we need to change is our being too proud, which usually result to being oversensitive. So if we think highly of ourselves, then we have the tendency to put a wall around us and then the signboard on our forehead saying I must be respected. Therefore, when someone makes a joke or not a positive comment about us, we feel like we are not respected and we get offended. So if all people in the country do not know how to accept constructive criticism, then we can never expect unity. So as a Filipino, sometimes we are soft-hearted person, or we cannot deny that if somebody or someone are being to insult you, or sometimes they are going to or correct you, you are sensitive and sometimes those correction might affect you and you might get hurt or oversensitive. You are oversensitive. Even though they want you to learn your mistakes or they want you to change of being they want you to change and they want you to learn your mistakes. The next is living beyond their means, or social climbing. One of the reasons why a lot of Filipinos live in poverty is because of overspending. Since most people want to live an elite lifestyle, many resort to social climbing or living beyond their means. So sometimes some of us think that as long as we wear designer clothes and shoes and we send our children to the most expensive school, it is alright to be swimming in credits and loans. So as a Filipino, we're also a social climbing, or we not always think that spending money is also one of the most decision that we need to think, because of being too proud of being rich. Sometimes they can cause a Filipino live in poverty because of overspending the money, because you are not always think that money is very important to us. So you are always, or sometimes you are always spending it in the you cannot really need. So sometimes, because as a Filipino, we are always think that we want that, or we are always think that if there is, for example, there is a latest phone or something that latest, we are always buy it or else spend our money to buy it. So next is passivity. So lack of leadership. So Filipinos is lack of initiative for change is also one reason why our country does not progress. We keep on complaining against the government and other societal issues. So however, we do not do anything about them. So one of our excuses is the lack of faith that our small action can bring change. However, the worst reason for this could be our lack of care for what is happening around us. So common Filipinos also lack courage and confidence. If you can notice, in classroom, church or conference room, most of us don't like to sit in the front seat. So as a Filipino, even the even that administration is really doing well, but as a Filipino, we are not see what they do in our country. But we are always against them, or we're always against the government, and we are always complaining. The next is other negative traits, or some Filipinos women give birth at an early age or 16 teenage pregnancy. So some just don't mind their own business, or some have many bad habits like drinking, smoking, etc. Some poor teenagers engage in prostitution. There are many broken families. A lot of bad words to choose from, each Filipino just cannot avoid saying those. And most Filipinos tend to be with friends most of the time than to be with their parents. So as a Filipino, well, we have also those negative traits of being a bad habits like drinking and smoking. And some of Filipinos also engage in prostitution because of poverty, and sometimes the Filipino also, or some Filipino also experience a broken families. And sometimes, or most of the Filipinos also tend to be with friends most of the time rather than to be their parents, because Sometimes the reason is they are enjoying to be their friends rather than to be their parents. So those are the negative traits of Filipinos. So the fatalism, the manana habit, the crab mentality, the hypocrisy, the ningas kogun, the gossiping, the blaming, selfishness, the disobedience, the simple rules and instruction, the attention taker, being onion skin or too sensitive, living beyond their means, passivity, and other negative traits. So those are the most well-known traits and attitudes of the Filipino.